The pandemic is a time that can be earmarked by the one concept of loss. Some of us lost loved ones. Some of us lost businesses or jobs or careers. Some of us have lost their places where we were staying. Some of us have lost relationships and ties to family members. But there are some of us who have lost their damn mind. Hi, I'm James, and this is my take on reality. In this episode, I wanted to talk about Kody and the influence that I think Kody is receiving from what is termed the Manosphere. Now, before I get into it, I just simply wanted to say thank you to anybody who has taken a few moments to watch the videos. I genuinely appreciate it. For my subscribers, I also like to thank you. You're helping to grow the channel, and I genuinely appreciate that. If you are watching the videos and you're not yet subscribed and considering it, what are you waiting for? It's easy to do. All you got to do is click the subscribe button. It helps the channel out. It helps me out. Hey, who doesn't want to help a brother out? So go and give me that HBO special, which stands for Help a Brother Out Special, by clicking the subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications of when I upload new videos. Also, give me a thumbs up to let me know that you're enjoying the content. Bam! Let's get it. Now, when I talk about Kody and the influences that he has and how it's projecting and how it's manifesting itself, even within the show, there are a couple key phrases that he dropped and a couple hints that we have that this might very well be what's going on. But I also think that the time that we spent during the pandemic only accelerated and made this situation worse, because we were locked in the homes, and many of us fell to streaming networks. You know, Tiger King was #1. Everybody was watching that show. You know, a lot of things were exploding. People were always on social media sites, and being on these sites and clicking on this video or that video, all of a sudden you start to be introduced to put into different algorithms where you're being introduced to material that you may not have seen before or been privy to before. And I think that the danger of some of the Manosphere materials or red pill community materials is the fact that they take a little bit of truth, they shake it up, and they misrepresent it in a way that becomes damaging to the people who consume it. For instance, in the Manosphere, it basically can be broken up into 4 groups for those who are not familiar. 1, you have the incel group. These are young men who are typically younger guys, but can be older. But they're younger guys who feel that they're entitled to have relationships with women, that women are somehow victimizing them and mistreating them because they choose not to spend time with them. And they can't find wives or girlfriends, and they can't have relations with these women. So therefore, the world is not fair and the world is evil, and it needs to get back so that nice guys can find women who want them. And I don't understand why they don't want me. Now, when you get to number 2, you have the pickup artists. The pickup artists are typically these guys who make women essentially a monolith. So all women are basically the same. And by being the same, I mean they're all life support systems for their genitalia. And when push comes down to shove, if you want to pick up these women, I'll tell you a couple lines that work or a couple techniques that you can use to have conversations and conversation topics so that you can bring home the most beautiful, extravagant women in the world. And that's what these guys try to push. In both cases, they're pushing more towards the desperation of men. Men who want to have these relationships with these Instagram models or these people that they see. And they just genuinely don't understand how women function. And so therefore it becomes a negative experience where by the deeper they go into either one of these categories, whether it's incel or pickup artists, the less likely it is that they're actually going to be able to find a woman to spend the rest of their life with. So by working towards the thing that they think they're working towards, they're actually working away from it. Number 3, or the 3rd group, you have the men going the other way group, or MGTOW group. These are basically guys who see women as being extremely toxic. These are guys who don't want to have anything to do with women. Women are basically good for one thing and one thing only, and that is as a fluid receptacle for men's bodily fluid. And so therefore, that's the only purpose that they really serve. Other than that, they're extremely toxic and they must be avoided at all costs. They're more their extreme group. But then you have the next group, and this is where I think Kody is falling more into this group and under this influence, and is being infiltrated more towards the men going the other way group. And that is the guys who are men's rights activists. A lot of these guys are men who are married or have families, and then they're entering into the families break down and they start to dissolve or break apart, and all of a sudden they find themselves interacting with the family court for the first time, or they're trying to divide up assets, and then it seems like, well, before I was making $100,000 and now she's leaving and I got to take some of that money and give it to her, and it's not fair, it's all mine, 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 mine. And that's where you get that victimization mentality where they feel like they're being put upon. And you can see a lot of that influence throughout the seasons as we move forward. Even as far back as when Kody was talking about Mary and her catfishing incident, where he said Mary was going to leave my ass for a richer guy. It's not just the fact that Mary was going to leave. She was going to leave him for a richer guy. It couldn't have been the fact that, Mary felt neglected. It couldn't have been the fact that she felt slighted. It couldn't be the fact that she felt pushed aside because Robyn had just came into the family and you were spending so much focus and time on her and you had kind of pushed Mary aside. It couldn't be that. It had to be the fact that Mary was leaving because she was interested in money. When Kody was talking to Christine and he was sitting in the house and she was telling him that she wanted to leave and she wanted to separate, and it was the first episode of season 17, and she said, I want to leave. The first thing he said in part of that conversation, and it seems like he was more concerned about this than he was about his relationship with Truly or what was going to happen with Truly, was he said, I don't want you to meet some guy and come after me and try to take my money. That goes back to the materialism of where they think women are. Women are always trying to steal away or take away your provision, and you have to protect what you have. There's a few guys on there who will constantly say, oh, well, why would men ever want to get married? Because all they're going to do is come and take half your stuff. They're going to take half your things away. They're going to take all your money away. And this is one of the things that you see throughout Kody's whole expression of how he's approaching these women. Kody is susceptible to the Manosphere for a number of reasons, not just because Christine left him and Mary, he was having trouble with Mary and Mary was going to leave him. He was initially susceptible to the Manosphere because of his religion and his faith system. In his faith system, because it's all about ego, baby. In that faith system, it's God, man, wife, children. In that order. It's a pyramid. And so because God, in Kody's mind, or at least in his religion, he himself will become a god one day. So he takes the first slot, then it's his wives after him and his kids below him. This explains and gives a healthy, hearty explanation as to why he believes his wives must always serve him, why his kids have to come after him and seek him out when he has disagreements or he feels like they've been slighted in some way. They must come and seek him, and they can never speak against him, and they must show him respect and loyalty and submission, because that's also one of the key phrases that a lot of these groups use. They start talking about traditional family, where the men are in charge and making the decisions. Because, in their mindset, if you have a Y chromosome, then somehow that automatically makes you worthy of being followed and being a leader. And so that's their belief system. Also, when they talk about the traditional family, they're saying that the women must be submissive to the husband. Men are tired of dealing with these westernized women and this feminist women who want to be equals. They can't ever be equals because men are superior. We are different. We're better and you're inferior. That's the difference that they believe and that they try to propagate. And that's where Kody is falling to. As we talk about what effect does this have with Kody and his relationship with his wives, here's the thing. The effect that it has with Kody and his wives is variant. Because for Christine and Janelle, Kody became more oppressive. And that's when he started talking about that patriarch stuff. I'm going to be a patriarch. I'm going to be the head of my family. Again, another traditional manosphere talking point. I'm going to be the head of my family. I'm going to be in charge. And if you're all willing to be submissive and submit your will, run your will into mine, then we can move forward. Now, one of the big dangers of this group, whether it's the Manosphere group or any group who is kind of radical in nature in this kind of thinking, is that it does a couple of things. The first thing that it does is that it creates a conflict and an opposition between the people that you are associated with. So it targets a group and it says all your problems are located in that group. That group of people is toxic. And so it demonizes that group. So in Cody's case, it demonizes women. Then it says, well, these women, they're the enemy. And not only are they the enemy, they are less than you. And these people are less than human. So therefore, you're up here, they're down here. They're less than you, they're less than human. So you can talk to them any old kind of way you want. You know what I mean, babe? Or baby. You might as well call Suki Toots. All right, it's all ego toots, sugar pants, or whatever, right? So they're less than you. Because again, if you're, you demote a person down to basically a bodily function or physical attribute, then they're not a person. You have them as less than people. Now, the crazy part about it is once they are less than people, they're no longer human, they're no longer people, it's easier for you to do whatever it is you want to do to them. You can justify any mistreatment of something that is less than a person. If you think that women aren't worthy of your time, they aren't equal, they don't have opinions, their opinions, if they do have them, don't matter, then it's easy for you to dismiss those opinions. It's easy for you to tell Janelle that she can stay in a fifth wheel and she doesn't deserve a house because she's not doing what you want. Would you do that to a person? Much of my outrage as I was doing those reaction videos, especially the ones titled Red, came from the place where I can't believe that you would treat another person like this, particularly the mother of your children, your wife, quote unquote, in your respect. You call her your wife, you call her the mother of your children, and you would have her stay in a place that's not comfortable or safe for her to be in. And you're okay with it. And that was the source of my outrage because I saw her as a person. In Cody's case, he didn't see her as a person. He saw her as a bank book and as an opportunity. So therefore, when she didn't do what he wanted him to do, it was easy for him to say, you can stay in that fifth wheel. You don't need a house if you're not going to do what I want you to do. If you're not going to buy the house I want you to buy, you don't deserve to be where you want to be. You don't deserve to be comfortable. And it's easy for him to treat her that way. For him to turn around and say that to Christine. Oh, well, I never was attracted to you and I was basically using you. And you should have been thankful that I was using you. That's how you treat people that you don't respect as people. And because he doesn't respect them as people, that causes a problem. Here's something that Robyn had said during the conversation between Mary, Janelle, and Cody, and her, when they were meeting at Mary's house to talk about Janelle moving on to the property, supposedly, and it was basically a setup, and they wanted to have this whole conversation about how evil Christine was. Watch what Robyn says.
I've told him several times I feel like he's lining up all women and I'm there too, and you're there and you're there, and he's shooting us all down because Christine is a woman and he's angry and he's hurt.
Now, if you listen to the conversation that Robyn had, she is basically excusing Cody's bad behavior. She's trying to place it on to something else. Oh, it's all Christine's fault. And because you're talking to Christine, he's mad at all women. No, dummy. And this is where it gets very dangerous because you think that because you're on the inside and he's not mad at you today, that you can somehow sidestep the problem. Stop excusing bad behavior. This is dangerous. And I can't express that enough because as Mary had said,
who Cody is right now is not who I met and married.
Cody is starting to evolve. He's changing. And everybody changes over the years. But Cody is not the same man he was yesterday that he is today. And you have to be very careful of that because yesterday he didn't put his hands on you. Tomorrow he might. And you have to keep your eyes open for it. Don't make excuses for him. This is not okay. It's not okay for you to be mad at one wife or one person and you take it out on somebody else. It's no more okay for Cody to be mad at Christine and take it out on Robyn, Janelle, and Mary as it would be for a man to go to work, get cussed out by his boss, and then come home and take it out on his wife. This is all wrong and it's all inappropriate. So we have to be in a position where we can call it out. As he starts to mistreat you, he can easily justify that mistreatment because you're not a person. It becomes infuriating to watch because Robyn is enabling his bad behavior. You're giving him an excuse to treat people this way. You're giving him an excuse to act this way. And what has Cody done with this excuse making, with this enabled power? What Cody has done is he systematically used financial abuse. He's telling people that I'm not going to pay for this, I'm not going to pay for that unless you do what I want you to do. And then I'm going to try to force you to do what I want you to do. Part of the reason why he was mad at Christine being able to sell her house out from under him is because she was able to do it without him. And he couldn't control her and couldn't use that lever to try to force her to do what he wanted her to do. He was angry about that. And I think that that's part of the reason why he's so mad and so bitter about the breakup with Christine. That's a part of it. It's not just the fact that his ego can't handle the fact that she left him. It's the fact that he couldn't use the power and the leverages that he usually would use in order to control her. You also have an issue where he's financially taking advantage of him. He's mentally doing it. He's constantly trying to derail her and bring her down and tell her that she ain't nothing. She ain't pretty. She ain't cute. You ain't sexy. There's nothing attractive about you. I did you a favor by being with you. I'm hooking you up by me taking the time to lower myself to even be with you. You should be thankful. Do you know what that does to somebody's self-esteem? Why that is emotional abuse? That's ridiculous. And if he can do those things, then there's no point where you can say at the bottom of it that he won't progress or develop into something that you don't want to be in a room with. And this is where it gets dangerous. And this is where I say you always have to reevaluate and evaluate your relationships as you move forward with those relationships. You just can't rely on, but 20 years ago when we first met, he was a wonderful person, but now, he gets a little handsy. But I remember 20 years ago, he would only hold my hands and touch me in a loving way. And I'm trying to get back to that. No, you have to look at where they are today. And that's where I think Christine and Janelle are finding their confidence. Mary is even recognizing that Cody is not the same person. And so therefore, if he's not the same person, you're in love with the guy from yesterday, but you're not in love with the guy today. And you have to recognize that. That's my take. I'm James. This has been my take on reality, and I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die.